Mega Ran, thank you so much for hopping on the Peep Lounge today. How are you doing, my fine sir? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Gene. Thank you so much for having me. It's a good day here in Florida where I'm hanging out.
Hell yeah. Is it still nice out there? Because I know it's always nice in Florida, but I know where I'm at, it's getting like super duper cold where I'm at. So how is it over there in Florida land?
Pretty nice. I live in Arizona, so it's kind of similar,
Oh, gotcha.
except
Yeah.
a lot more humid here.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get
But
that
yeah, it's really
humidity over
nice.
there. Hell yeah. That's what we like to see. Well, first off, another reason why I wanted to get you on to this is because you recently got nominated for a Grammy, which is, first off, congratulations. That's super duper dope to see somebody within this community achieve that feat, which I feel like nobody in this community, at least to my knowledge, has gotten to the point where they can say they're Grammy nominated. So big ups to you on that. Congratulations. First off, I want to say, how does it feel? How does it feel? How did you find out? What were the emotions like when you found out?
Ooh, oh man. First of all, thank you. It still feels unreal when I hear it, when I say it. Sounds
Really?
like I'm lying. It just doesn't. It's like I'm like, yeah, believe me, I'm Grammy nominated. Um, it's insane. This is like just the product of a lot of hard work, of course, but just kind of understanding the just setting a goal
Mhm.
and then realizing kind of what you got to do to get to it, and
Yep.
then just putting in the work, man. And how did I find out? It's a pretty fun story because the nominations were announced on November 7th, which is my anniversary.
Yep.
And the week before that, you're just kind of leading up, waiting,
Mhm.
and we were like, oh man, I don't want to just be sitting at home sweating about this. So let's take our vacation early. So my wife and I took a cruise,
Oh,
and
cool.
to the leading up to that week. So we
Mhm.
came back the night before the nomination,
Yep.
and it was just insane to be able to come back. And then we got together. We got a lot of homies together, a lot of producers and collaborators at the house for like a breakfast, and they announced it really early in the morning.
Mhm.
And so we sat there and we're watching the stream live. And they didn't even show our category because it turns out there were like four different streams
Oh,
that you had to
really?
click on.
Oh man.
Yeah,
So they were both
there's
going on at
like,
the same time, so you had to figure out which stream you were on. Oh, that
yeah,
sounds hellacious.
it was a mess, man. We were just like, oh, they're gonna do all of them on this one, and nope, they got right to the something. They got to our field,
Mhm.
but not to our category. And then they're like, all right, and that concludes the Grammy nominations.
Oh
And I was
man.
like, what? So at that same time, I'm getting text messages from people being like, I don't know what they're saying, but I'm like, yo, I'm frantically searching through the internet
Mhm.
trying to find the results, and people are texting me,
Mhm.
and I'm just like, not now, not now. I'm not even looking at the text. And and then we get to the correct stream,
Mhm.
and when we pull that up, it says thanks for watching, and it's just
Oh, and they
flashing.
already had ended.
And I'm like, oh gosh. And when the stream ends, it takes a while for it to like restart or be available.
Mhm.
So it's just like, thanks for watching. And I'm like, oh. And then I get more texts. Beep, beep. And I'm like, no, not now. I need to see these results.
Mhm.
And so I'm just swiping them away. And then my boy's like, yo, the results are on Variety's website
Mhm.
now. And so we went to Variety's website and we scrolling down because it's like 50 categories.
Yep.
And then it gets to our category, Best Children's Album. And then we read the first name. And then I think I was the second name. And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, yeah.
I, I couldn't even believe it, man. Like Buddy's Magic Treehouse, my second children's album, and getting that news on my anniversary was
That's got to be a
the
special
best gift
moment.
of all.
That's got to be such a special moment to be able to say you were spending time with your wife on your anniversary, and then to find out that you've accomplished such a great achievement. Because people like, oh, like they're only nominated there, they didn't win it. I'm just like, dude, just being nominated is just an absolute achievement in itself. Because I feel like, and I watched an interview with you recently, shout out to Curtis King. I watched that.
Curtis
I
King.
watched the podcast with that, or with you on it, and you were saying how like the jump from being non-Grammy nominated to Grammy nominated is a lot bigger than the gap between being nominated and winning. So just that big overall, just
Mhm.
that jump from saying, oh, a few years back you weren't Grammy nominated, and now you got the right to call yourself a Grammy nominated artist. So again, big ups to you. Has it sunk in yet? Like, it's almost about the time of this recording, it's about a month. A month has passed almost. Has it sunk in yet?
No, not at all. It still feels like it's not real, man. I keep expecting like almost somebody to be like messaging me and being like, "Hey, this was a mistake. So sorry about that." It's just, that like imposter syndrome kicks in when you look at all the names of people who've been nominated and even the names of people who have not been nominated. And you're just like, do I belong here? You know what I mean? It just really gives you a lot of like humility for sure, where you're just like, oh my gosh, do I belong? And but yeah, like talking about that jump, it's just like, okay, there are tens of thousands of musicians.
Yeah, of course.
And then there's maybe a few hundred that have been nominated for a Grammy. You know what I mean? And so it's just like to be able to put yourself into a very, elite class, and me being like an underground artist my entire life and then not thinking this was ever possible.
Yep.
You know what I mean? To just be able to say that it is possible is something that just makes me really, really proud, man. Like, we've long time ago, maybe when I first met the guys from Rocket Gaming.
Oh, yep.
It was shout out to Rocket. It was at a panel that we were doing at South by Southwest. And during that panel, I think it was Vinny who said, one day I want to see nerdcore artists getting Grammys. And a lot of us in the crowd were like, okay, like, all right, man, like slow down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now like we see it's possible. You know what I mean? And it's just insane to think like with the music, like the musical playing field getting more level than ever.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like at this point, you can't tell the difference between like an independently produced recording versus a major recording.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because everyone's got the same tools.
Especially everything's so accessible nowadays, where it's just like, if you have a computer, if you have a PC, if you have just the basic stuff, you can start doing this stuff like literally today if you have all this stuff. It's like right at your fingertips, right? For you to just start whenever you're ready. So so that's a thing that I like about with these people in Nerdcore, is that you could start whenever. Like the only person stopping you at this point is yourself if you're not doing it. And
yeah, no, it's true.
And so for the people who aren't aware, so Mega Ran is nominated for a Grammy for Best Children's Album, Buddy's Magic Treehouse. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. I actually checked it out. I listened to the whole project from start to finish just because I wanted to see, and I knew I was going to have you in here and I wanted to talk about it. One of the things that I liked about this project is the fact that obviously it's intended for children, right? Obviously Best Children's Album, but as an adult who listened through this, I love the fact that you made it for children, but it has very like real like life lessons that might not mean something to much to them now, but like down the line, like you even touch like stuff like loss and grief and dealing with that stuff, and some things that maybe not a lot of children maybe experience at that specific age whenever they're listening to it, but they might at some point. And so having songs like that are willing to touch on topics and stuff like that at such a young age, I feel like is huge. And it was just a very, like, in my opinion, digestible album. From an adult perspective, I'm not going to say I'm an adult. I'm still young, but I'm technically an adult. But
yeah.
So I wanted to give you your props for that and being able to like tackle subjects like that. And you had stuff where you were just doing something like an alphabet song, and you were just having like fun tracks like that. But it's also the tracks that you're just like I can't remember the title of it. I'm blanking, but there was a specific song, and when I was talking about loss and grief, that I was just like, dang, even like, for me, this is kind of hitting. So I wanted to give you your props on it because it's well deserved. I listened to the album start to finish, very well deserved. Deserves to be nominated. Absolutely fantastic project from start to finish.
Thank you.
But the one thing I wanted to say about it was why or what about those kind of topics did you want to tackle that? Like, because you could have easily just made like I don't want to say like I don't want to make this sound like it's derogatory, but you could have made like very like dumbed down, like just very easily just catchy and melodic tunes that get the kids listening to it, but you put a lot of substance in it. Why do you think that was important for you to do that and put so many like life lessons, putting different emotions and touching on different subjects throughout this project? Why was that so important to you, and why did you want to children all around the world who have access to listen to, why did you want them to be able to be the ones to listen and take something from this and learn something from it?
Well, it was really important to me as a new father to be able to make stuff that my kid would listen to. This is my second children's album. First one I did in 2023 was mainly, a lot more, I guess, digestible topics for kids his age. So there's counting, and there's like things like that. And then by the end of the album, we're talking about bullies and other stuff like that. And so this album is just about like how to be a good friend, and then you go into other issues. Like there's a brushing your teeth song on the album. There's because I struggle with him when it's time to brush teeth, he doesn't always want to do it. So things like that. But then to get to by the end, we're like, all right, we can step up the level of seriousness here and make a song that, that anybody at any point in their life can go through, which is the loss, and trying to understand that. And I had never seen anybody in the children's world make any songs like that. And I knew when I finished it and I was emotional myself, just being like, wow, this is going to touch people in the heart. But it's just so relatable to kids of any age. And I think having to explain death and loss to a child is like the hardest thing ever.
Real.
So I just wanted to make a song where that could help them through that process. You know what I'm saying? And even that song's probably one of the hardest songs I ever had to make because I had children sing on there as well. And the parents of those children were like, all right, this is a great opportunity and it's fun for us to be singing on this. But now I have to talk to my kids about what it means, because they're kind of curious. And so they're like, what's the resolution? Like these parents are asking me, like, can I spin this into a positive? And I was like, well, yeah, explaining to them that because you have good memories of people that they're never gone. You know what I mean? Like those memories, those lessons, those laughs will forever be with you. So those people, I think I read a quote that says like the dead are only gone when we cease to remember them.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is. Like nobody's gone until you decide to get them out of your memory. So as long as you keep positive thoughts about that person, they're still around. And I was like, well, hopefully you can explain that to them. And these kids are like 9, 10. And, and she said, okay, that made things a little easier to explain that to them. And so, yeah, I knew once I was writing songs like that, they were challenging me. And I think that's ultimately what I want to do. Even when you say, for lack of a better word, dumbing down, which I don't think I did on the record, but
no, I wasn't saying like you, but I'm just saying like in general, most kids' tunes nowadays, like it can be kind of just like, oh, as long as it's catchy and like there's not really a lot of substance or whatever. Like,
but I've always written with substance, so I felt like I had to keep that going. And I just feel like ultimately throughout this process, I learned that you can't talk to children like they're children, like talk to children like they're humans. You know what I mean? Not like, oh, baby, like, and so that comes into, it kind of shows through in some of the music where you hear people kind of talking down or to children. And I'm like, I don't think we need to do that, So, I had a lot of fun making the record, but I also wanted to challenge myself, So I've through this process made some of the most challenging songs that I've ever like had to make, between Why Do People Go, but like there's a ska song, Dino Stomp, with like 5, 6 musicians on there that weren't ever in the same room. So being able to make a band kind of makeshift, by saying, all right, longest solo ever, can you play here? Let me get my drummer to play over here.
Hell yeah.
And creating a really rich sound out of that. was a huge challenge. And
Absolutely.
so I'm so proud of the record, man. Like, even if we hadn't got this, I would still think it's one of the best things that
Oh, of
I had ever
course.
done.
Of course.
But it's really cool to see like Grammy nominated next to something that you really worked hard on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And another thing that's really really cool about this album, one takeaway is, I think you kind of like what kind of helped me deduce this is because you had like little like interactions with certain artists, but the theme of Buddy's Magic Treehouse, and kind of like it representing like that space for the listener, like wherever it may be, just that space of just like where their happy place, the place where they can like just tune out everything, that this is like their happy place, the place where they feel most at peace, they can relax. And it's just kind of and you even say like find your treehouse, sit back, listen, blah blah blah. And I just really really like that theme, because that's another thing too, and it works for me. I always have those like those spaces where it's just like, okay, if I'm here, I'm always like, this is my happy place. Like fondly enough, weirdly enough, me sitting at this desk, this is my happy place, because I know like I'm doing what I love to do. I'm doing what I'm happy to do. And everybody needs that place, whether even if you're being productive or not. Like obviously I'm being productive with me being here, but even if it's just like as simple as just, oh hey, your bedroom, because you can be alone, or whatever the case may be. I like that you kind of had, or at least that's what I picked up from it is just like that finding your happy place, finding that place that brings you most peace. So I gotta ask you, what is your like place, like your happy place? What is your place of peace? Like, where are you going? If somebody told you, where's the first place you're going?
Wow. Ooh, that is a good question. I don't know if anybody's asked me that throughout this. I always talk about my place of peace when I was a kid, and how like I didn't have a tree house or anything in Philly, but we had like, we had a home, and the back room was like kind of close to a tree that was growing, overgrown. So I would pretend it was my tree house. So I would go to the back corner and sit. But nowadays, man, I think it's just in my car. Like I love to take drives,
Oh, okay.
and just kind of relax. I love a long drive, man. I'll just throw on some music or a podcast or an audiobook, and I like to just ride, just drive out on the open road and just chill, especially in Arizona. You can look at very beautiful, scenery, sunsets and all that stuff, and mountains.
Yep.
And that's my happy place for me. Honestly, it's like that's my space to just be myself, to breathe, and to just be. I think is like behind the wheel. Like I really just love long, quiet drives.
And honestly, I kind of the same way. I'm more of like a late night driver. I like being able to like go out at night, maybe play some like music that kind of matches that kind of late night vibe, and I kind of just like driving around. Not even like no destination, just drive around just for the sake of driving around. It is crazy to think about, because, and I don't know if you're the same way. I know I've had this conversation with some people in the past, but I've had some of my greatest ideas and thoughts come to me when I'm driving. I don't know what it is, and maybe it's because I'm away from like my workspace, but I don't know. But when it just unlocks something, it's just like whenever like I'm behind the wheel or something, I just notice, oh, I have this really cool idea. I can do this. I can do that, and it always just seems to happen whenever I'm behind the wheel or driving somewhere, even on my ways to work. Like I'll just randomly say, oh, that's cool. I don't know what it is. I don't know why driving does that. Maybe it's because I'm not like focused on anything. I'm just focused on driving. But
seriously, I'm the same way. Like it really feels like once I'm out driving, man, it just unlocks something. And then I'm like, oh man, I'm away from the studio, so I can't like do it. So
and then you try your best not to try to remember it and not forget it by the time you get
back. Man, my phone is filled with voice notes from stuff like that.
Oh, so you keep voice notes?
I'm like, hey, do this, when you get home, go and do this. And so, I get so many ideas when I'm out that like, I gotta like put them in a voice note.
Hell yeah. And then so back to the whole Grammy thing. Obviously when people found out you were nominated for the Grammy, a lot of people were asking questions about like, yo, how do you find or figure out or submit your projects or submit your songs or whatever to be nominated and whatnot. And I've seen you, I think you even made like a little, if I'm not mistaken, you made like a little like song and posted it on social media, and you just turned it like into like a nice little fun rap. But for all like those artists, like big or small, who maybe want to get to that point where they want to nominate some stuff, not necessarily the process of the like figuring out the nominations. What do they have to do as musicians to try to get to that point where, hey, I think I'm good enough to submit? What were some of the things that you did to help you prepare to be able to, because everybody has dreams of winning awards for their music if you're a musician, but obviously and it's unfortunate, but only certain people can get that far. So for all the small artists or any artist who are watching this, or aspiring artists who are watching this, what would you say to them as advice for like how to get to that point and how to level up their craft, whether their whatever aspect of music that they do, how to level it up to the point where just like, you know what, I think I'm ready. I'm gonna try to go through that whole process and whatnot to see, and just get to that point and get confident enough in their music to be able to get to that point.
Yeah, I don't even like the term small artist. So I'm glad that you kind of corrected that, because small artists, small streamers, I think that stuff is a myth. It's all in your mind. You know what I mean? So if you're calling yourself a small creator, then you're a small creator. But I don't believe that that's a thing. You're just
you either
a creator.
do it or you're not.
Yeah. And so I think just taking that mind state into this, like, yeah, whether I got 12 songs or 200,000 songs, I'm a creator. So yeah, I think that the process is something that it can be a little daunting, but I think for most people it's a little bit easier than people think to even be in the running. Like, there's Grammy nominees this year with less than 3,000 monthly listeners.
Really?
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like there's folks who maybe don't get a whole lot of plays and this and that, but they're getting the right plays. You know what I mean? Like, maybe someone who makes a decision is listening. So it's just a matter of putting your music in front of a certain type of person. And that's really what it is. It's like a mentality switch that kind of has to change your network. You know what I mean? So you got to maybe attend some different types of events, or, post your music in different types of places. So I think first of all, though, I think for everybody, and this is what I've been encouraging people to do, we've gotten a couple of the homies in. I got Game Boy Jones into the Recording Academy. And so we want to keep getting more people in, because the first step is to join the Recording Academy. And people look at that like, oh, what? Like, this is too big for me. Like, it's the Grammys. Like, what are they, I'm some little guy. But yeah, like, there's a youth movement, a youth influx happening with music, with the Grammys especially, where youth is needed. You know what I mean? So we need young creators for sure to come in with their new ideas. And most of it is not about winning a Grammy, but being a part of the Academy is about like fighting for music advocacy. So we start learning about, let's talk about fairness in streaming wages. Let's talk about what Congress is doing. Let's talk about AI. Let's talk about so many other issues that are around musicians that are going to ultimately affect our pockets or our livelihood. So it turns into a lot of advocacy. So yes, the first part of it, and I think even the current chairman of the Grammys, he said, I only entered so I could vote for myself. Like, that's kind of how it starts.
Real.
You're like, oh, I can vote for myself for best album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's how it starts. But then you realize once you're in that, yes, you're creating a community of concerned musicians who really want to make things better. And so that's the true prize of, I think, being in the Academy. So to get into the Academy, you just and it's not even a huge barrier of entry. You just need two recommendations from some people that are already in. And now you all know two of them between me and Game Boy Jones. Um, then you need what else do you need? You need, I think, 12 credits in
Okay.
like in your catalog. Like
Okay.
you have to be pretty recent. Like don't show me that you have 12 songs from 2018. But most of folks in nerdcore are very consistent and have a
Absolutely.
pretty huge catalog.
Real.
So check all the boxes. You know some people and you're consistently creating and releasing music. And that's really all they want. And at that point, you submit, you send them like a little resume, and someone decides, and brings you in.
Mhm.
The only time I've seen people rejected is if maybe their catalog wasn't up to date. Like they just hadn't dropped anything in 5 years or something like
Oh,
that.
that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like I said, all of our homies are very, very consistent. And
Mhm.
so it's something that uh, I am going to try to head up a big campaign to try to get a
As
lot
you
of the
should.
homies in, because I think that we need to understand it and learn more about it. And I think the music can compete. You know what I mean?
Absolutely,
Like
dude. Some of the artists in
first
this
of all,
community,
yeah,
like I think you definitely started a wave of something, because now that people are seeing like, oh, Mega Ran got nominated, they're probably gonna like do something like self-reflective. It's like, wait a minute, okay, Mega Ran's nominated. That means like the door is open. He opened the
yeah.
door. And I'm
It
not
was
saying it
open.
wasn't. I'm not saying it was like it was shut before, but it's just like now we physically
We
have
just didn't
seen
know.
we
Yeah,
physically have
like we
seen
didn't
it
know.
now, and so I can see, like you mentioned Game Boy. You can see like all these artists who produce songs like crazy on a super consistent basis. I feel like you started somewhere. We're gonna it might not be too far off to maybe see like one or two more people from the nerdcore community getting at least nominated for something. And like I
I
said,
hope so, or at least just in the conversation. Like I think that's
absolutely.
where I think we're ready to be in the conversation. So it
And
just takes sometimes it's just submitting. Like
yeah,
these guys over here don't know that you're doing a thing until you bring your music to them.
exactly.
So it's
I,
just about submitting.
how do you expect to get nominated for something if you never actively go out and like you were saying, go out and network, go to like these events, like put yourself out there, make have people like outside, like you'll meet some like big people if you go to like stuff like this, and just
Yeah.
like I said, networking and stuff like that. Just like you can't expect just this stuff to just it just fell right on my lap.
Yeah.
And it's
Like you can't. But also, there's another layer to that where, and I don't know if this is as much a thing in newer nerdcore as it is in some of the older nerdcore guys that I've talked to. Um, but you also have to be okay with rejection, and
oh
ultimately, and it's not always a really fun feeling.
oh yeah.
And I think the unfortunate part about Grammys is that the album counts for that calendar year, or
Mhm.
the song counts for that calendar year, and once that window has closed, it's kind of closed. And
Yeah.
I really think that's super unfortunate, is that it's tied to a time period. It's like album of the year. It's not album of the forever. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to have put out this album within this window of time. And if they sleep on it in this window of time, you got to just do another one. You got to try again. And so that is very unfortunate, because like I felt that's where what disappointed me about not getting those kind of conversations on my last record in 2023, because I was like, man, it's so good,
Mhm.
and now the window's closed. Like it's
Yep.
even now, like they've added all these new categories, like best album art,
Oh
and
yep.
you're like, okay, I think that's a really dope idea for best album art. But unfortunately, you can't go back and retroactively reward Pink Floyd for The Wall or Dark Side of the Moon.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Which are
Iconic.
excellent, iconic album
Yep.
covers that they can't win that award, unfortunately. So that part of it is kind of sad. But I do feel like it can be a little disappointing when you're
Mhm.
like, oh man, I did this really great thing, and now doors closed. It's too late.
I think.
And so,
Oops,
but
sorry.
yeah, I
Uh,
think, but as a creator though, you just got to know, like, you got to feel like your best stuff is ahead of you. And
absolutely.
I think most creators hopefully feel that way.
Mhm.
And so, I always feel like if the day happened, and I've actually had this conversation kind of recently,
Yeah.
like if somebody came and they wanted to buy my entire catalog, like from this day back,
Mhm.
if they wanted everything for X amount of dollars and I had nothing, would I start over and feel confident about that? And I said, yes, I would. Like, I think I can create
Mhm.
and make another album, make another great
100%.
song. You have to believe that that your best stuff is
True.
ahead of you. And
Absolutely.
so, yes, it would be sad to not like any further like own my like past stuff, but I do think that I could, continue to make even better stuff.
Absolutely.
You have to believe that.
And I know, like, in terms of like the rejection stuff, at least within the nerdcore, I know I see, because the big thing that people want to do every year is they want to be able to perform at like an NPC, and stuff like that. And you have all these artists who apply, but then when the time comes when they're announcing and they find out, oh, they didn't get it. I see people and I always get like two different sides. Like there's people who's like, hey, I didn't get it, but it's okay. I will be there one day. Like that mentality is like, okay, my best is still yet to come. I'm just gonna keep getting better and better. I will be there one day. It just wasn't my year. And then you got the people who was just like you said, it can be tough. Like they take it maybe a little hard. It's like, oh shucks, I didn't make it. This is disappointing. I thought it was my best year and stuff like that. So I feel like that would be like Nerdcore's equivalent, at least up until this point, because now that we've gotten our hands on the Grammys, like that's just another level for artists to reach. But another thing too, and I think another big thing that'll help out a lot, and shout out to, again, Curtis King, because you said this quote and I can't remember it verbatim, but I'm gonna paraphrase it. But essentially you guys were talking and you mentioned that whatever you're doing in any creative field, this can be like whether you're a creator, musician, art, like any creative field, don't worry about what other people in your space are like, what they think and what they're doing. Focus. Don't worry about that stuff. Worry about the community that you've built, your fan base, because at the end of the day, like, yes, you might find other creators in your space who this is okay, or they might really mess with it, but at the end of the day, you're not going out to please those people. You're going out to try to build up a fan base, build up a following, build a community of people who enjoy your music, enjoy your works, for you. And I honestly used to be that exact same way. When I first started doing content, I'd be like reactions, for example. I would react to somebody's like, I hope this artist that I'm reacting to sees this reaction, right? And that's what I would be. That's what I would be hopeful for. But then as I started getting more and more into content, I realized, oh yeah, it would be cool, right, if to have the interactions. But at the end of the day, I'm not thinking about, okay, I'm doing this. For example, we'll bring up, like, you mentioned Rocket earlier. I'm doing a Rocket music reaction, right? I'm not doing it because, oh, I hope Rocket Music likes this. I'm doing this because I hope my fan base who might enjoy Rocket Music will enjoy this, and my community will like this. So you kind of have to ask yourself, same thing, like, okay, if Rocket doesn't see this, is it not a success? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it is a success because you did a thing that you think you did good work on.
Yeah.
And the people enjoyed it. So yeah, it's like you can't get too caught up in it. And I had to hear that from other artists to really kind of understand it, because we all want those props from the homies or from people we look up to. And it's man, I would say that's funny that you mentioned that particular quote, because I feel like what makes Nerdcore special is that we are fans of each other.
True.
You know what I mean? And we do support each other. We do collaborate and gang up on tracks, and we do like really love on each other because we're fans.
Absolutely.
And so it's a very unique side of the music world, where like a lot of us are hanging out together. We see it on the other side where a lot of folks are not hanging out and not listening to each other's stuff. But either way, like even if that weren't happening, I think you have to focus on what makes you and your tribe of supporters happy. And if you can reach them and they enjoy it, then you won.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very, very, very true. And like I said, it took people telling you, just like it took me some time to be able to like come to terms with that and realize the bigger picture in terms of how to become at least successful as a creator online in any capacity. This could be taken like from a musician, from if you're a YouTuber, streamer, musician, any creative field. You can kind of have that same exact mentality going into it. And that's a quote that I actually like to I've always thought about that quote. And that's what I always tell people too when they ask me stuff, is because I do things for my community, my fan base, and whatnot. I'm not necessarily doing anything for the artist. Like, obviously it's cool. I'm not saying like no disrespect to the artist or whatnot, but they're not my like primary form of thinking whenever I do stuff with them or react to them or whatnot. My instinct is like, oh well, my fans like this. How can I turn this and make my fans enjoy this? So if you're like a smaller creator who might not have heard this before, but please going forward consider like, oh hey, like if you're just starting out, you're building your fan base, you got the first couple of people, figure out what those people want, rather than trying to appease these bigger artists who, yes, getting validation from them might be cool, but at the end of the day, that's just going to be a one-time thing. Like that's not going to build for that one person. You could have gained 20 fans over that instead of just that one person you're trying to. You get what I'm trying to say. Hopefully.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's the truth. And it was hard for me to kind of realize that and understand it. So I hope that younger artists can get that message too, because it's super important. Mike, you got to create for yourself, and love what you do, because like. Yeah, if your favorite artist told you that your content wasn't good, like, what are you going to do? Quit? Like,
true.
It's like, what are you going to quit? Like, I hope not. Like, so therefore, I guess it doesn't matter. You got to do it for yourself.
Like I said, you can't expect to please everybody. It's just the fact of life. Even no matter how nice you are, there's always gonna be at least one person that's just like, like I'm not a big fan of this person, or they just might not like your content. But another thing too, and a lot of people know this, you've been making music 2 decades, roughly, right? 2 decades. Roughly, yeah. You've been making music in this community for older than a lot of people that I see in this community. I know I probably just aged you so badly, and I apologize.
That's okay.
But what is one thing that you've noticed that's drastically different from making music independently then compared to now? What would you say is like the biggest difference between then and now in terms of the music making ability, whether it be like the promotion, making the physical music, whatever the case may be? What's like the biggest drastic change?
Well, I think that the frequency that music comes out these days definitely changed. But even now, it's not probably as fast and furious as it was maybe a few years ago.
Yeah.
Where everybody was dropping like weekly, but just the quality level overall, like seeing stuff come out that's at such a super high quality level makes me really happy, because to me, that was the biggest knock on like early nerdcore, was like sound quality, where a lot of folks were just putting out things and like taking the DIY aesthetic to mean like low quality, like lowest barrier of entry. Like, I'm just doing this. And, yes, that is impressive to be like, yeah, I produce, mix and master and release and do my art, do everything. And, but if it's not good, if it's not particularly of a good quality level, then it's like, okay.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing folks that are do-it-all musicians, but are also creating at such a high level of quality, almost by themselves. And it's like really, really impressive. So yeah, like the music, like I said, there's you almost can't tell, you know what I mean, an independently released song from what the big guys are doing on the radio, which is really exciting to me. Like, if you see the music, and I know that I can compete on that level, and that's what makes me think of things like Grammys and all that, because I'm like, man, like, we're making the music that's good enough to be considered for these type of things. It just needs to get into the right hands. So I think now, I would say I'm not as embarrassed. You know what I mean? Because I used to be like, when people would be like, I make nerdcore, they'd be like, they would say that, and I'd be like, yeah, but like, it's good though. You know what I mean? Like, I would have to say things like that. And now like I can point to 20 acts or more that are just making really high quality stuff. So I don't
Absolutely.
have to be like, yeah, I don't have to worry about like, oh no, it's not going to be that great.
Yep.
It's like, no, I can show you really 2 dozen people that are just phenomenally great at this.
Yep.
And so it's cool to say.
And going back, because like even just within the past like few years of just the absolute just shift in quality for a lot of artists in this community, and you were saying like it could be hard to differentiate. I've played nerdcore, like I might be in a vehicle with somebody and a nerdcore song comes up. They don't even know, they're not even aware that it's like a nerdcore song, and they're vibing out to it, they're enjoying it, they're rocking with it. And they'd be like, it could be, for example, we'll just use them for example, it could be a Fable song, right? And shout out to Fable, tremendous artist. But they'll be like, yo, what band is this? Right? And I'm just like, oh, let me tell you, dude, this is one dude doing everything on this one. And then they just like flip out. I was like, yo, this is one dude. How the hell did they do all this? So like, hey, man, like, you'd be surprised. Like, just the absolute, that's like quality, highest quality. Obviously, it can always get better. No, I will never, ever say anything's perfect because there's always room for improvement. But just the fact that it's changed, because I've been in this community since like, late 2019, early 2020, roughly right when the pandemic started, and just being around then to now and seeing the shift, like, and like you said, like you used to almost be like embarrassed to say you were an artist, and when I started making content, I would kind of just like, yeah, I make content, and then I would just try to like, if people like ask me, oh, what kind of content do you make? I would kind of like dodge the question a little bit because I was kind of like embarrassed and whatnot. And this is no disrespect to the artist, but now it's just like I can go out of my way. It's like, hey, yo, I heard this song this past week. I need you to listen to it. Nerdcore, it's a nerdcore song. I don't even tell them it's a nerdcore song. And the fact and to see people like rock with it and enjoy it is one of those things. Just like it warms my heart because it's like. We're getting to a point now where it's digestible for anybody, and that's the thing I like about nerdcore too. Like, for the people who are fans of nerdcore, you'll still rock with this.
Yes,
but for the people outside,
I've been able to see that. Yeah, like the outside folks to also be like, yo, this is great. And like I feel like that's the sign of when you know you're creating some good art. Because when I write albums about Final Fantasy and people are like, yo, I don't even know anything about Final Fantasy, but this slaps, you know? And same thing, the kids album, like, yo, I don't even have kids, but this is really great stuff. And, you know, and that's just the mentality of the writing that I think is coming out and what these guys are doing these days, where it's like, yes, I wrote a children's album, but I wrote an album for what I would have wanted to hear when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that didn't exist in the world or in children's music. I was trying to write that for myself as like the kid version of me, you know what I'm saying? So therefore an adult can hear this and be like, dang, like that's such a great message. I'd love to hear that, you know? So that's really always been the mentality. It's like, yes, I'm making a thing about this thing, but in the process, it becomes relatable to people who may not even understand it, you know?
And it's getting to that point for me because as I'm not trying to make myself sound old, but as I get older, I don't have the time to partake in all this nerdy stuff that I used to as a kid. So I'm not as caught up with all like the nerdy trends and maybe like the hot topics at Nerdcore. Like I know whenever a new like show or game or whatever comes out, Nerdcore is going to jump on it. And a lot of times I know nothing about it. And I'll even say to my reaction, but I could still walk away from the song enjoying it because of whatever the theme or the topic might be. It's something that I can take personally and it relate to me personally while also holding like or appeasing the nerdcore side and the people who understand where the reference source. I just love how artists are able to balance between that and do like a healthy blend of both to appease both sides, to bring in new people, but as well as sustain the people that they currently have. And that's why I think Nerdcore excels a lot recently, is because of that.
Yes.
And I think again, that's where you succeed at too. So big ups to you on that. And another thing too, and a lot of people, obviously, if you're a fan, if you're watching this, you're probably a fan of Mega Ran, so you guys probably know this. But for the people who aren't, you're also a big wrestling head.
Yes,
and
big time.
I was excited to bring this up to you because I'm also a wrestling head. I love wrestling. I love
nice.
And well, first off, I'll start with this. How and when did you get into wrestling? Was it like when you were like a little kid like everybody else? It's just like you saw these larger than life characters, or did you maybe discover it later in life? Like how did you get into it?
Yeah, it was definitely as a kid, growing up in Philly, like wrestling was pretty big there. And like I feel like it was coming to town a lot.
Mhm.
And so I would just watch it with my cousin, and he was a couple years older than me. And he would sit me in front of the TV and be like, watch this. And then you see these guys and you're like, oh my gosh. And my guy was Macho Man,
Mhm.
and seeing Macho Man just fly up the top rope at the elbow. And I was just like, this is so amazing. And so I was hooked for, a really long time. I started going to shows and things. Then I took some years off, I guess life gets in the way. I was in college, some other stuff. But even in college, like we used to scrape our money together for pay-per-views
Yep.
and, watch them. We'd get some pizza. And then I think after college, when I started working, I didn't watch for a few years. And then I got back in, just seeing the younger guys come in and dominate. And I was just like, man, like wrestling is such a cool thing because I can find a parallel within from wrestling to any facet of my life.
Oh,
I'm like,
real?
it's just like this, like I'm watching politics. And I'm like, oh, that's the heel turn. Like, okay, here we go.
The heel turn is like, crazy.
Yeah, it's like, everything is wrestling. Oh, it's a swerve. Like, here we go.
Yep.
Like everything is pro wrestling, man.
Mhm.
And so the drama that happens in like every other sport and everyday life, you can relate to wrestling storylines so much. It's almost like The Simpsons, where like everything is relatable in a way. And yeah, man, it's just become a big part of my life. And then later became a part of my art, where I was just like, you know what? I can work this into a song,
Yep.
reference. And it's just been really fun to be able to do that. Like I always try to put a piece of me into the music. So I'm writing songs about things. And then later to be able to write entrance themes, for wrestlers.
I was going to get into that too.
Yeah, like that wasn't something I ever even thought would be possible.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But yeah, but here we are, which is crazy.
And whenever I get somebody on this show who I find out is a fan of wrestling, it always seems to take over the conversation, just because like I said, I'm just a big fan of wrestling. I'll never forget my very first pay-per-view I ever watched. I've never had the ability to be able to like go to a televised show like live. I've only been to one house show in my life. That's just because where I live, we pretty much get nothing. So unless I were to travel multiple hours to a show, it's just not feasible to do all the time.
But house shows, I think, are more fun.
True, I did go to house show and I had an absolute blast. I think it was back in like 2019. It was so fun.
They're like, because they can do a little more when it's not TV.
Oh yeah,
so they can have a little fun interacting with the crowd. And
they were just like casually just breaking tables left and right and just doing random stuff and high fiving people in the crowd. Like I was just like, yo, this is such like a cool experience. And I get, because it's not televised and they don't have all these like little time constraints and they don't have all this other stuff, that they could just go out there and have fun with it and do what they can as entertainers. And that's one thing that I really liked. But I'll never forget my first time, and this is around the time that I got into wrestling, is WrestleMania 26. That was, and I'll never forget my feeling of watching Shawn Michaels having to retire. I'll never forget that feeling. I literally cried in the shower after that.
26. Okay, so that was Shawn Michaels' last match. Was that?
Yeah, that was Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, like for the second time.
I went to that show. It was in Phoenix, but I wasn't a fan.
Really?
Like my buddy came out. Yeah, like I wasn't watching. So I had to, so it was like embarrassing because like my buddy came out from Philly. He's like, want to go to this show. And I was like, well, I'll go with you. And so the whole show, I'm like asking him to explain who these people are. And it's like, okay, I know Undertaker, I know Shawn Michaels. I was like, who the heck is Sheamus? Who is this?
Oh,
Who's
yeah.
that? Like, I remember like trying to get some like
Context.
idea and some context of what was happening. And I was just like, yeah, who's this guy? And why are they doing this right now? And yeah, like I watched that show, but I was like, I have almost no connection to it, which was crazy because I wasn't watching the product at the time.
Yep. That was when I was just like, that's when I was first getting started. I got into it right around between those two 25 WrestleMania 25 and 26, and then from there it just took off. I've watched every WrestleMania since. I've just been a big fan. And you mentioned it earlier. Because of your love of wrestling, you've had the fortunate ability to be able to help make some wrestling entrance themes. For example, like I know I've seen you said you did work on the New Day theme song. You've done Shelton Benjamin's in AEW. You've had the ability to work on some theme songs. So one thing I wanted to ask you is what is the process of making a wrestling theme song, and how does it different than tackling a wrestling theme song compared to just like a normal Mega Ran song that you would make for yourself? Like, what's the difference between the two? How do you tackle those differently?
Wow. I mean, you got to understand the assignment. So the best example I can think of is when I did Shelton Benjamin's, because we were able to talk immediately. It was MVP. Shout out to MVP who kind of made that happen. He's like, man, I heard his theme and it sounded amazing. And I was like, this sounds like an RPG. So you need Mega Ran to rap on this. And Shelton was like, well, I don't know Mega Ran. And MVP's like, well, I do. Let me connect you guys. And so got us into a chat. And I was like, all right, Shelton, what do you like? What do you like about your old themes? What do you like about, like, what would you like to see in a new theme? And what do you want in it? And he would just tell me like, man, I really love Tekken and I really love this and I like these things. And I was like, well, okay, what character in Tekken? He's like, okay, Heihachi. And Heihachi has this line where he says, I'll snap you like a twig. And I was like, okay, I'm writing this down. And I'm like, yeah, let's put in all these things about you to make this thing a really like fun experience. And so once I took all the notes, I was then able to work them into a song. And like he told me he loved it. It was like his favorite theme music ever. and that's like a huge, I
was gonna say that must have been like a huge ego boost hearing that from a wrestler that you made something for. That must have been a huge ego boost.
Yeah, like absolutely. I mean, for like this, like Ain't No Stopping Me Now, his WWE theme is like kind of legendary.
Absolutely.
So for him to be like, man, I love this even more than that, I was just like, what? So yeah, man, that's just like understanding the assignment. And it's like, I think it's not very much different than doing a Nerdcore song. It's like if I'm writing a song about, Goku, it's not much different than writing a song about a real life Goku who's a wrestler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's not very different. You just kind of, you embody them for a little bit and say, all right, what would they do if they had a mic in their hand? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's really it. And man, it's always a fun experience. And to get like that real time feedback where the artist is like, oh my God, we love this, And with New Day, it was a little less hands-on, where they were like, we have like an outline of what to say and where, but now you just got to fit it within these guidelines for timing purposes.
Absolutely.
Like hit hard with a thing here and hit hard here and fall back here,
Yeah.
And that's really what it was. It was more like filling in those bullet points. And yeah, either way, it's always a fun experience, man. And it's a dream come true to be able to like sort of be a part of the universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wasn't at WrestleMania this past year, but like New Day won, and like, so hear my music and
up on that stage must have been surreal.
Oh, it was surreal. I was like, yo, that's my voice. Like, this is insane. Like, it was so cool. It was like goosebumps just watching it, man. Like I felt like I was there.
So, and I think you kind of touched on it briefly, but so when you're making these theme songs for wrestlers, how like much freedom do you get? Because obviously I feel like you can't just go on there and say anything that you want. Do they give you like the creative freedom to be able to like make certain choices, or do you have to like run everything through like the wrestlers or the company or stuff like that? Like what is that like? How hands on, or how much do they have their fingers in what you do?
Oh yeah, I think everybody has their fingers in a little bit
Oh yeah.
because because like you said with television and prompts and timing, like things have to hit at a certain time, just to make sure that they get the most impact out of that
Yeah.
time. So yeah, I think I I'd say there's a little more freedom and a little more looseness with AEW themes where shout out to Mikey Ruckus. He's like, yo, I trust you. Give me what you got. And if I need to cut it up and move it, like I will, but ultimately want your vision to shine through.
Real.
And so he's always very, very much like supportive of the artist's vision. Um, like I said with WWE, it's a bit more structured where they're like, okay, it has to fit within this.
Mhm.
Here's the timestamps that I need you to rap. Here's the timestamps where I need you to not rap. You know what I mean? Like things like that,
Yeah.
because they want things to hit. There's a formula to interest music, and I mean, if you watch it enough, they had this big swell up, the
Yep.
boom,
Yep. And then that big
silence,
climax. Yep.
and then, wow, and then
Yeah.
it hits, and so there's that in almost every theme. So they just know that works. There's timing for when the bell is going to ring. Ding ding. There's timing to when the
Also,
announcer is going to announce.
all of this goes into dang, I didn't
Yeah,
realize there
yeah.
was just so many little intricacies of this. I thought it was just like straightforward. It's like, oh hey, here's the requirements. Now it's your job to do what you can to meet the requirements. But I didn't realize there was like, oh, you got to focus on all the different timings, and there's just different little nuances that go into it. I didn't realize all that.
It's weird. Yeah, I didn't think about that either. But yeah, you have to be aware of what's going to be happening at the time that the music is playing.
Mhm.
And so you're like, oh, well, here's a break, here's a lull where the announcer can start talking about
Yep.
the wrestler.
Yep.
There's that break where the commentary is going to be talking while they're coming down.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's making sure that you have space for those kind of things to occur.
Yep.
In a broadcast, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's cool that they think about so many of those things.
Absolutely.
Like it's just not like, all right, give me a hot 16, with an 8-bar hook and let's go. It's like, nah, there's actually a format to it that works. And
Yeah.
sometimes songs break the format all the time. I mean, John Cena's theme technically doesn't follow any format. It's just a rap song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I think a lot of the entrances, for sure, they're thinking about how they're going to be presented.
Yep, and again, that's just the machine that WWE is. They think about literally every little detail. But it's just one of those things that it's just so cool to see somebody in the community who's doing all this cool stuff. And this just goes to show, like, you don't need to all the artists at home and aspiring musicians, you don't need all these awards and peers gassing you up to they're not the only means to achieve anything. Like you can like Mega Ran over here, he's making wrestling theme songs. That first off, that's just a really cool thing. I know not a lot of people can say that they've done that. That's just a really cool thing to be able to say that you've done. And you do all these little like cool like side projects that I feel like any artist could easily aspire. Is like, oh, I want to do that one day. Like I hope somebody's watching this like, yo, maybe I want to make a wrestling theme someday. Whatever the case may be, whenever that time comes, or maybe I want to get Grammy nominated. Maybe I want to do this and do that. Maybe I want to be able to perform live, because I know you're a big live performer. You do a lot of shows, but just know that though all those like awards and the gold and the praise or whatever, that's only like a tiny little bit of it. That's not the end all be all. There's many different things in this realm that you can achieve for and be successful for so think about that. And this goes for any creator too. Again, this can be applied to any form of creator. Having that thought process of like, okay, what other things can I do within this space that'd be really cool and I feel like could be really fun. And I think that you're a good example of that. And you find cool ways to be able to like, oh hey, like I'm doing this, I'm doing like, and it's just like, it's unorthodox, it's cool, it's fun, and I can tell that you're having a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, dude. You get to be one of those people who enjoys what they do. They enjoy everything that they do. And it's just like it's like your livelihood, right? And it's just like you're independent in everything that you do, and it's just a cool thing to see. And I have massive respect for all the independent musicians within this community, because they do. I can't imagine the amount of unfathomable amount of work that they have to put in to in comparison to maybe like a mainstream record label backed artist. And it's just cool to see. I want to make sure that you get your flowers for all the little side quests and the extra effort that you put into your craft. And again, congratulations on being a Grammy nominated award or Grammy nominated artist. There we go. That's the better way to put it. And I know that's probably never going to sink into you. But
no, never. It just doesn't feel real at all. Like it's, but I think that's just I think that's a good thing. Like I just want to always maintain like some humility,
of course,
and also just always aiming and higher. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy to hear all these things. They're like, oh, he was in WWE. He's written songs for wrestlers. He's done these other things. Grammy nominated. Like I'm in all these crazy worlds, which is insane to me. Like it doesn't feel real.
It's just cool to see, and it's just like for the people who maybe one day want to get Grammy nominated for some point. That's a good goal to have, but what I find helps and what I do is obviously at the end of the day I want to get to a point where I can do this full time. I can make a living off my content and substantially or live sustainably off of it. But I realized that I got a lot of work to do, and so I try to set like little minor goals, like okay, this is where I'm at right now, instead of always just thinking, oh, I got to get here. What do I got to do to get here? And then from there, what do I got to do to get there? And just take it like step by step by step. So make like a mental note, just like, okay, this is where I'm at. Let me try to get here by the end of the year, or in 6 months, or whatever that case may be. And then maybe here, and slowly progress your way. Because if you can make those slight little goals, and every time you meet those goals, it'll be like a little like boost in like, okay, I made this one, now what's next? So then by the time you get there, you'll feel like the journey, like almost like the journey almost is better than the destination type of thing, where it's just like that road up. And I feel like you showcase this perfectly, because you're doing all these little cool side quests and not things that not a lot of people could say that they have had the ability to do. So big ups to you on that. But I think I've kind of covered all of the main topics that I wanted to cover. So what I wanted to do at the end, because obviously you have a lot of wisdom and experience doing this for, like I said, 2 decades, dang near, if not more. I know it was ballpark, but
it will be next year. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. That must be surreal too. But for anybody at home, any aspiring artist, any artist, whether they're established or just starting, what advice do you have just in general? If you could give any artist any sort of advice for anything, in terms of like how to grow, or like how to improve a certain aspect, if you could give somebody out there one random piece of mega ran advice, what advice are you giving them?
Well, that's good. There's actually a song on the album, so this kind of ties back.
Perfect.
And there's a song called Advice, and on that song I say, be kind, do no harm, and also be nice.
Real.
Because I think that most of the opportunities I've gotten in my life are just because I was just a nice guy who was fun to be around. Be a good hang. I think is the best advice you can give to any musician. Nobody wants to be around an egomaniac jerk who's not, helpful, who's not bringing value, who's not bringing, good conversation sometimes. It just, my phone, my DMs are always open. I always try to make sure that I'm available for younger artists, anybody who has a question. I do a lot of mentoring, and I do appreciate I like to be around kind of youthful energy, because it keeps me young. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I definitely like everybody in my circle is usually a little younger,
Mm.
because I feel like that energy rubs off on me.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, I'm always there for advice, man. But I also realizing that my advice and my path is not necessarily your path
Mhm.
or your best, what works best for you,
Mhm.
because as we're learning throughout this, journey, and the more we learn about life, there is no one way to success.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no one path.
Yep.
And I think that that's the most important thing that you can probably take from me, is being like, yo, the unconventional path can absolutely work, but there are 100 other forks in those
Yep.
roads that can lead you to something even bigger than what I've
Something,
been
yeah,
able to
something that you never
accomplish,
even imagined.
that I never even imagined,
Yep.
and it's crazy. I see it almost every day where like people, they do a thing and it's like, oh my gosh, that really, like, it took a crazy turn
Hmm.
because they went out and they tried something new and they were able to reach a whole new, audience. So I'd say just try everything. Be willing to open your mind, when it comes to promoting, to producing music. Challenge yourself at all times. I think if you get yourself into a point where you're kind of not in a rut, but I think when you're kind of on autopilot, I think that means it's time to shake something up.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you're like, oh man, I can do this very easily. And, you're almost thinking about what you're going to eat for dinner instead of doing the thing.
Hmm.
It's like time to challenge yourself, time to, inject a little bit of fear into what you're doing. There's like an old quote, I think it was Will Smith. He said, everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Yep.
So just think of what you're scared of, what would scare you the most. It's like the equivalent of performing naked. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that would be embarrassing. So it's like, think about those things that would scare you, and when you leap over that, that's when you're going to see amazing results.
Yep.
So
And
yeah, find your fear and meet it head on.
I'm kind of like to say, and I don't know who said this quote, but that kind of ties into, because there's one thing that I always try to live by is just like live in the uncomfortable. And I don't know who said
Mhm.
that, but it's just like, if you're not uncomfortable with what you're doing, you're not progressing, you're not developing. You can't, like, and it's cool. Everybody wants to be comfortable with what they're doing, but and again, I'm not going to say this is a 100% like every single time,
Mhm.
but it's like 9 times out of 10, you're not going to grow if you just stick into what's comfortable. Like you got to be able to push those
Mhm.
boundaries. You got to be able to push those barriers of what you're willing to do. And that's one thing that I've always tried to do. Like, I'm like, for example, I am very like, I have a hard time conversing with people sometimes, especially first time interactions. Like this is
Mhm.
or people you might not know, but this is mine and Mega Ran's first time doing like a face to face interaction. Well, I guess it's not really.
Yeah.
I guess it's not really face to face. It's over the internet. But it's just like I get super nervous when I go to do these recordings because it's just like I'm uncomfortable. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I don't know how. Like I don't want to come off as like nervous or anything like that. But at the end of the day, like those are the moments that is just like, okay, like if I get through it, that might make me better for the next time that I do it, and so I can keep progressing further and further. And it's just like I said, it's just one of those things that's just I've always lived in the uncomfortable, or at least I try to. So I think that is really really good advice, and I appreciate you, Mega Ran. Again, I think that's everything that I have cooked up for this episode. So
Nice.
I appreciate you for being willing to hop on here and lend me some of your time. I know you said you're in Florida. You're in Florida. You were mentioning that you were headed back home here soon. So again, I appreciate you. Last little thing. I do this at the end of every episode. Take some time. The floor is yours. Promote whatever you want to promote. If you have anything coming up, if you want people to follow you, tell them where to find you. Anything that you want to promote, the floor is yours. Have at it, sir.
Oh man. Well, I just want to say, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, even though this will come out later after that, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the community. Thankful for this time to chat. Everything that's been happening. I'm very thankful. And yeah, the album Buddies Magic Treehouse is out there. Please go give it a listen. I think you'll enjoy it. It's for kids of all ages and families. And yeah, man, we're just hoping to keep on pushing through, and let's hopefully get this Grammy, bring
Hell
it
yeah,
back.
dude. Hell
I
yeah.
want to want to bring this trophy on stage at NPC or something. You know what I'm
that
saying?
that would literally be the coolest thing in the world to see you take home that Grammy, dude. I'm just so happy for you, and I want you to know I will sing, like, I'll be watching the Grammys solely for that. I want you to I normally don't keep up with the Grammys, but because Mega Ran is in it, I'm gonna be seated and I'm gonna be watching, and I hope I'm praying to everything that I love that you walk away with that Grammy, sir. So again, I appreciate you for being willing to lend me some of your time. Again, if for the people at home who might not be familiar with Mega Ran, all of the important links will be down in the description. Go run up Buddy's Magic Treehouse, the album that he got nominated for. I highly recommend it. And literally, if I can listen to it as a full-blown adult and I enjoy it, I highly recommend, no matter how old you are, check it out, give it a listen. You honestly might learn a thing or two within it. Just go check Mega Ran out, dude. Absolutely, from what I've seen, absolutely just great human being, shows nothing but kindness wherever he goes, and we all love him for it. So again, thank you, sir. As always, let me know, guys, who you guys want to see next, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace. Turn around and drop it for me low. We ain't stopping till we reach the goal.